All right, so I have it just tripping into 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is the 2nd of November, Tuesday, 1900 for those 24-hour clock inclined. My name is Russ Jamison. I'm the instructor for University of Mount Olive LDR 490, Leadership Capstone. This is the capstone course, the culmination of the leadership curricula offered by the University of Mount Olive for obviously leadership. The idea here is this course is run a little differently than others. There is no textbook for this course. What we have instead is a couple of readings, a for-profit organization and a not-for-profit, nonprofit organization. Obviously, every organization needs to bring in more than it spends, otherwise it gets in trouble. And that goes for any type of charity for that matter, but not for profit as organized or identified or accepted as by the IRS as a 501c, and then whatever the subparagraphs are, C3, C1, depending. But the idea here is a Socratic method. And the Socratic method is Socrates, ancient Greek instructor, who would have a common text or a common framework in which he would have his students engage in self-learning. In other words, the students would bring their own expertise on the subject after being instructed by Socrates and expand that knowledge with each other. And that's the idea here. Instead of a course in which you have a textbook and I instruct, the idea is that you all will read both these books, a common framework. You've already had the LDR curricula, foundations, teamwork, conflict resolution, change managed leadership. And I'm missing one in there. Which one am I missing? Case studies. And with a series of questions, broad and open-ended by I as your instructor, the idea is that you all will teach each other what you get out of the readings, what you remember from your previous coursework, what you know as students of leadership. So what are these two books? Well, they're right here on your Moodle page. For LDR 490, your page, if I could get it to scroll. Here we go. On the left, you have the J.W. Bill Marriott Jr. Without Reservations book, story of Marriott, organization that's been around for close to not quite 100 years, certainly 75, but is fairly successful, and it's an intriguing story, particularly as it relates to how they got started as a simple A&W root beer stand. I don't know if any of you remember the A&W restaurant chain, not unlike a Checkers or a McDonald's or anything else. Boy, the best root beer. Anyway, the other text, that one on the right, written by Robert Watson, former commandant, if you will, of the Salvation Army, titled Leadership Secrets of the Salvation Army. Again, a very effective organization, one that has been around for more than 100 years. Started in England, obviously brought to the U.S., but a very intriguing not-for-profit organization. And so we take these two and dive into them. So I give you certain questions during the week, one for discussion, one for you to consider on your own as homework. and see where we go. As you have already found out, these questions are very open-ended. These are not your easy, tell me on page 89 what Marriott says. Okay, it's what are you getting out of it? In fact, one of your questions for next week uh, is exactly that. Okay, up till now, out of your readings, what have you pulled out? And there's a lot of them. J.W. Marriott had his own leadership style and different from his dad's, but also very similar and their same outlook. Marriott was famous for um, getting out and about leadership by walking around. In other words, being seen and seeing what is going on. There's a vignette where he notes a very efficient organization in the sense of getting things done, but it looks like um, it's out of fear and not out of a mutual respect. And that's a brutal lesson for Marriott to learn, when he finds it out, but how he deals with it. Because although you want success in an organization, it goes deeper than that. It's not unlike what you learned in your teamwork course, where the idea isn't just to get the team to perform, but that once the project is over, the reason the team was formed is completed, that the persons participating look back on it as a great opportunity, good organization, a good experience, and want to do it again. Vice, I thank God that's over. All right. Okay. So we started on Monday, the 16th of October. It's now 2 November. So we're getting at about the halfway mark. These sessions are 7.4 weeks. When I first started teaching for University of Mount All back in, oh, it's been about 10 years now, 2013, 2014 timeframe, maybe a little later. We were 5-week sessions, and most of the courses that I taught were seated in the satellite campuses. Excuse me, long day. I apologize for that. The satellite campuses here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, which is where I'm located, and also taught at the one up in New Bern, and didn't quite get to any of the others. There's one in Seymour Johnson, one in Raleigh, the Triangle, and then one in Wilmington. Just before COVID, a new president of the University of Mount Olive closed all those down and moved us to a online um, 8-week program. And there were some reasons for that, good reasons, solid reasons. There were some wish we hadn't done that, in my opinion. But it is what it is. From there, we made it through COVID in part because of those moves, which were actually well timed. I have to give them credit. I mean, nobody saw COVID had coming, but because of those moves, the University of Mount Olive was better positioned than most other schools. Yeah, for obviously offering their programs. Anyway, about a year ago, we went to a 6-week uh, curricula, 6-week sessions, which not really sure why that move was made. Uh, it timed out a little better, I think, overall. So that may have been the reason. Anyway, we did the 6-week sessions for the better part of a year. And then this past summer, we instituted a 7.4 week session. Okay, so starting normally on a Sunday or a Monday, And what we used to do is end on a Sunday. We still start on a Monday in the 7.4 week program, though, is we end on a Wednesday. This gives the instructors a little extra time to grade papers. Normally, you would allow the student to turn the paper in on the last day, on the Sunday, but have to turn around and post the final grades by that following Tuesday, which doesn't give much time to read, particularly those of us who are adjunct and have full-time jobs outside of the University of Mount Olive, where, what you would consider part-time or contracted help. The move to the 7.4 week still allows for those papers to be turned in on a Sunday, but the course doesn't end until Wednesday. So that allows that requires the instructor now to have the final grades posted by Friday. What this allows is a couple extra days for us to grade the papers. Speaking for myself, I read your papers 3 times. You put a lot of time and effort in this course, particularly important because this LDR 490 course, 50% of your final grade is based on that final paper. So it's got to be right. But the idea is that I read the first time to check journal compliance with the instructions. Did you answer the questions? Did you write an effective paper? Did you communicate well? The second reading, I go more in depth and detail. I start noting the proofreading errors. I'm not an English major. I don't teach English. I don't profess to be the best at English, but we do know when a word is misspelled or not capitalized. We know the difference between plagiarism and proper citation. We want to see general APA guidelines. But you also note that you don't catch every error with the simple spell check on Microsoft or even using Grammarly. You may have spelled the word correctly, but you spelled the wrong word correctly. There and there, or however you want to, go down that road. So that's the second reading usually. And then the third reading is I kind of take a step back and just overall see how the paper flows and how effective it is. And at that point, generally in comparison with other papers that have been written that I'm aware of, no, I don't grade on a curve, but I do note that there are some times when I grade a paper, I may be a little tougher on it just because of that day's events or attributed to, okay, than the next perhaps. So it's an idea to try to bring some balance. I provide you all the grading rubric that I use. I will put the rubric out for that final paper when probably, let's see, I just put out the week 4 written assignment instructions. So probably the week 5 written assignment instructions. So sometime next week, I'll put that rubric out so you got it. You know what the paper entails. You're already writing chapters on that paper. Okay, the idea here is that instead of waiting the last minute and having a nasty surprise on a paper that's worth 50% of your grade, I have you submit sections of it every week in the form of chapters. 5 chapters, and then you're going to take that, put an introductory paragraph over it and a conclusion on it, sandwich those 5 chapters you've written in between, and submit that as your final paper. So what are we doing with those chapters that you submit every week? Well, I look at them and I'm reviewing them. And I'm not grading. I can't grade a paper twice, right? That's not per University of Mount Olive guidelines or even fair. So for this particular class, I am not grading per se your chapters. I am providing you with some feedback that says continued effort, such as this on this paper, would probably result in a A paper or a B minus paper or a D paper. Okay. So that you've got time to get a little bit of feedback, but also you have time to go back and improve upon that paper, that chapter that you've written. Go back, fix some of those errors if there were some, um, catch the proofreading errors and the like. Okay. Once you put that paper assembled and together with the 5 chapters and the introduction and concluding paragraph and submitted that into Moodle on the last Sunday of the term, then I will grade that paper. And that is what will be 50% of your final grade. What's the other 50%? The 25% discussion forum and the 25% weekly assignments. And that's the method behind the madness. All right. So let's go down here and take a look at week 3. I looked at what you all posted. Everybody did a very good job. Some of you did an astounding job, and I congratulate you on that and ask that you keep that up. All right, you were supposed to read chapters 5 and 6 of the Marriott book, chapter 3 of the Salvation Army. Look at that chapter for that chapter 3 of Salvation Army. Put people in your purpose, and that kind of gives you a little bit of a an idea of what's going on. The discussion forum question discussed listening, retaining the core values of the organization or the culture, and organizational change. Certainly, Marriott has changed. It's changed its business model over the years, but even Salvation Army has changed, but not in a fundamental way. Certainly hasn't changed its mission statement, which it should not. Okay, mission statement, again, remember, should be perpetual, right? Everlasting. But I wanted you to discuss in here, as you as the leader of that organization can enhance the success of your organization by listening, by retaining your core values and culture, and by conducting organizational change. And I ask you, what will you do to make sure you're listening? Okay, and I want to hear specifics on how you will do that. Some of you said we'll have periodically town halls or staff meetings or uh, you know any mouse suggestions. In other words, any mouse being a play on anonymous. Okay, and whether or not you could bring in, as far as proper leading your team organization through change, any of your LDR 440 leading change coursework. Remember the change images that you studied, whether you were a coach, a director, a navigator, a caretaker, and the like. Okay. And as you do that, I want you to pull out some aspects for the Salvation Army and Marriott that relate to this question. Okay. This is not just hunt through the timeline, but it's to go into the readings and pull out specific episodes, if you will, that relate to the question and back up your conclusion. Again, make those postings by Wednesday of every week. Most of you did, a couple did not. And then you do your individual comment by Friday. Most of you have done those. Some of you have not. A couple of you did an absolutely superb job on your feedback to other students. I mean, just I was stunned, blown away, and and am appreciative of it, and you've captured it. You have captured the Socratic method. Okay. All right. Your written assignment 3 kind of relates to that chapter we had you read of chapter 5, or that chapter out of Salvation Army, but also relates to the Marriott book. And that is, how do these organizations put people first? Now, remember, again, by people, I'm not talking about their clients, about those that they are serving. We mean the leadership and the subordinates within the organization. Okay, so how does Marriott treat its associates? How does Salvation Army treat or put their officers first? Okay, and again, want to upload that by Saturday, and there's the more instructions there on the formatting. Okay, now if you notice, there's a method behind this madness, and that is when you're looking at those chapters to write. Here's chapter 2, the final project is due here. Okay. I want you to base each chapter off of a principle, a concept, or value that you've had in leadership. Okay. Write about that and then bring in the Marriott Salvation Army to back up your points. So anything that you covered in leadership, LDR 300, case studies 340, innovation 360, effective conflict resolution 400, leading change 440, and creating effective teamwork 460. Okay. It could be any principle, concept, or value. Your choice. Okay. Preferably one that you feel passionate about or that strikes you, captures your interest. Okay. But whether it's motivation or importance of mission and vision, risk, this one, putting people first, ethics, culture, communication, building teams, conflict resolution. Remember that there's 2 types of resolution negotiating techniques, right? And whether there's the bargaining or whether there's the I just lost the second one. That's embarrassing. Um, anyway, remember the win-win or the win-lose proposition. Now it'll come to me about 3 o'clock this morning, then I'll, yell aha in the middle of the sleep session. Anyway, so each chapter, bring that in on Sundays. I have it in before 23:59, please, 11:59 p.m. Each subsequent chapter is due on Sundays. And then week 7, you're going to assemble that paper. Okay. Now, if you wrote, say, for example, chapter 2 this week, does that mean it has to be chapter 2 in your final paper? No. You can make that the last chapter. I don't worry about that too much. But, and you could have a complete different chapter in that paper if you're so inclined. I would not suggest that, but I would not grade you down just on that aspect. Okay. But don't wait until the last day to write this paper, because again, your final paper is about 15 to 25 pages. Okay, so each chapter is 3 to 5, and that's a lot of writing. Now, when I give you page numbers or word count, I don't grade based on page numbers or word count. In other words, submitting me a paper with 70 pages doesn't mean you get an A. Okay. Conversely, submitting a paper of only 3 pages when I've asked for 10 or 15 doesn't necessarily give you a D. What it means is I'm giving you an idea of how much time and effort to put into this paper, give you about a framework to look at. If you can address all the points with sufficient depth and detail and do it in less than 15 to 25 pages, then go for it. I mean, that's brilliant. We certainly like brevity. And then conversely, if it takes you, 30 to 40 pages to make your points, and you haven't just filled the paper with, argle bargle or nothingness, then that's fine as well. I won't grade down on that. Okay. What I'm after is to see what you have to say, how effective you are at saying it, and how well you've hit the fundamental relationship. Remember, the fundamental relationship, the one that matters most, is your conclusion and the evidence that you use to support it. Okay. All right. So we're already at about 7:26. I'm going to target this at about 30 minutes because doesn't look like anybody's joined us. That's okay. Again, these are not mandatory sessions. This is purely volunteer, your time. I encourage you to attend, but because there may be something here that you need to know. This is more considered like an office hour. I'm just going to hang out in my office and see who shows up. Okay. All right. To help you out a little bit, in case you didn't notice, there's some PowerPoints. No, these are not PowerPoints for this course in the sense that, like I said, when I taught this as a seated class, I used to show some slides that illuminated some issues and points. But these are slides from the LDR 300. It's designed to help you identify those concepts, those models, those principles, those values, and the like, as part of writing your paper. Okay, what do we do next week? There we go. Oh, wow, we're so slow here. Okay, as always, I tell you, ensure you read the assignment instructions for this week in the announcement section. Okay, that will reiterate what's down here normally. You're going to read Chapter 7, Reserve Order Amid Change. There's kind of a play on that one. That's clever on the Marriott perspective. Chapter 4, Embody the Brand. I love that chapter. A very good one. The question is here it is. That's what I alluded to earlier. Summarize what learnings you found in each book at this point and discuss similar or different approaches. Okay. So you might have learned both authors talk about leadership by walking around, by getting out and about. Okay, so compare and contrast it. Was it similar approach? Was it a little different? How did they treat their people? Okay, was it more top-down leadership, or was it embracing bottom-up? Okay, you may see Salvation Army, even though it's a hierarchical type of organization, tends to power a lot down to the individual posts or stations, if you will. Okay. Salvation Army, leadership of those local offices or branches. It's a husband and wife team that leads it. Okay. Imagine Marriott doing that. The senior manager at each Marriott location being a husband and wife team. That would be interesting to see, wouldn't it? Anyway, but how does that work for Salvation Army? And is that a model that could be used in a for-profit organization? Just, unique. It's very interesting. Worthy of discussion. Okay, written assignment is a two-parter. I want you to go on to the company's websites and explore what is your impression if you were the CEO. Does the website work for you? 2, did you notice that the websites, or what did you notice in the websites that would attract employees and future clients. Okay. So look, a little bit more than just, oh, I like the colors and I like the font style. Now, I mean, dig into the website. What is it communicating? Okay. Does the website provide your mission statement? Does your website allow for purchase of merchandise? Does the website give you an idea of what careers are available? How to attain services? How to go to work for that organization? What are the locations? Does it embrace the culture of the organization, or is the website 180 out and almost given a misread, which we've all seen some fake websites? Is the and no, I'm not trying to teach you how to code. I certainly am not too concerned whether or not you pull out. The website doesn't use SSL or is behind the times on whatever DITRA puts out as far as security standards go. But that's perfectly fine if you want to bring that in and those things. But what I'm after here is, as you as the CEO, is this communicating what you want communicated? Okay. Because again, this is an extension of you, the boss. All right. And that's what I want you to dive into. Now, I've sent you a couple articles that do talk about, coding and some specific things in that, just to kind of help you along a little bit. But also take a step back and see if that really works. Okay. Anyway, have some fun with it. See what happens. Okay. And then, of course, chapter 3 of the final project due on Sunday. All right. 7:30. What is it? 7:31. Or 7:32. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop this since I've been going on for 30 minutes. I apologize for the yawn and taking a sip of my iced tea here, Sonic tonight. But I seem to be fighting something off this time of year, I guess. Hope everybody had a good, fun, and safe Halloween. We had a lot of kids out, more than we've ever had. Almost ran out of candy. It's good to see. Well behaved and people having fun, which was phenomenal. I tapped the fire code on this long ago, a few years ago, as I sat around handing out candy when it was just me. I brought out a fire pit, so now I sit by the fire and hand out candy, and notice that my wife and daughter now join me, so it becomes a little bit more of an event. So anyway, something to think about and offer to you just in case. Hey, look, in this course, everybody is doing fine. Those that are turning in the work, I should say. There's one or two of you that you've got some challenges, but I know you'll work through them. If not, the key is make sure you talk with your academic advisor. As your instructor, I can't do anything. I can't drop you. I can't join you to the course. I can work with you. But again, only after you've talked it over with your academic advisor. So if you owe some work, let's get after it. Or figure out what you need to do with your academic advisor. Okay, please. Nobody likes to be the heavy. And don't forget, you got set your clocks back an hour this Sunday. Spring forward, fall back, right? So we go into Eastern Standard Time, right? Yeah. We're on daylight saving. Yeah. We're on daylight saving, and we go back to Eastern Standard, at least on this coast. Okay. Again, I hope everybody is doing well, and I'm appreciative of you, and I hope you take great care.